My name is Robin Mohilner. I'm a licensed psychotherapist in the state of California in Los Angeles who is living with bipolar disorder. I work for the Life Adjustment Team as well as in private practice for myself. This video, we are going to talk about the stages of depression for bipolar disorder type 1, not including mixed episodes because that's a different story. This is going to be based on what I consider textbook bipolar disorder, and I'm going to speak from my experience. I am diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1, and I experience what's called textbook bipolar disorder, which means you experience full-blown mania without it being a mixed episode and full-blown depression in particular to that mania. I'll explain. I'll make it simple. So the first stage, actually, I want to rewind a second. I want to explain why the depression happens. The depression happens because it is the recovery stage from the full-blown mania. And the full-blown mania completely exhausts our brains. And our brains need that depression time to recover from the mania. And the longer our manias are, the longer the depression is naturally, even with the help of medication, because our brains truly do need that recovery time. So now I'll get into the stages. So the first stage of mania can happen in two ways, and I call it the losing control stage. And the first way it can happen that I've experienced myself is after the peak of mania, which can last, oftentimes it's 2 weeks, the peak of mania where every emotion explodes out of a human being. Every possible human emotion explodes out. After that, it's like overnight a person goes into the first stage of mania, and that's completely, actually they may even skip it because they've already done the losing control, because the first stage of depression is losing control. They've already lost the control during the mania, and they completely fall into the second stage, which I'll explain in a moment. Now, if a person with bipolar disorder type 1 has experienced hypomania, whether it be for a prolonged period of time, meaning more than just a few days, what happens is we gradually go into what I call the losing control stage. Now during this stage, you can feel that you're either having difficulty sleeping or not sleeping. You can feel the loss of energy. You can feel the depression coming. But you can't necessarily do anything about it, so you feel the loss of control. So a completely normal response that we all do is we try to get as much exercise as possible. We go to therapy. We talk to our psychiatrist. We try to get as active as possible to counteract that losing control stage. And a lot of us just want to get back into the mania, because the mania, especially if it was a hypomania, we were productive and we were doing great things. So during that losing control stage, we are fighting for our quality of life. And it doesn't work. If you've experienced mania or hypomania for a prolonged period of time, this is your body's way of saying it's time to recover. So what happens is once we get through that phase can last easily 2 weeks, where you feel, I'm in control of this, I'm in control of this. Well, guess what? You're not, I'm not, we can't control it. So what happens after that is what I refer to as the suffering stage. And the suffering stage for bipolar disorder type 1 is when you're not able to think, you're not able to feel, you're not able to function in your daily life. You can barely get out of bed, shower. You can barely do the things that you need for your hygiene, for taking care of yourself. You can barely do those things, which is why hospitalization is often a necessary thing unless you've got a solid, strong support system that's willing to help you get through that. And that stage, unfortunately, and this is news a lot of people don't know, that even with medication, sometimes that stage can last 2 months because of the fact that it is a recovery time. I really want to imprint on you that depression with bipolar disorder type 1 is recovery from mania. The only way to prevent depression is to prevent mania. So I have good news as well. During this suffering stage, it doesn't have to be suffering. What I learned to do during this stage is to let it be a peaceful stage of surrender. I use this stage to focus on surrendering. I do whatever I am able to do, which is I can read and I can listen to videos that inspire me or listen to music that inspires me. But I will literally lay down in my bed and think nothing and not shame myself for it, not worry about all the things I'm supposed to be doing. I give myself permission to just do nothing, and I give myself permission to not think anything and not feel anything. And I'm going to admit that during that, once I surrender, that part of the depression is very peaceful for me. When I stop fighting the depression and I just kind of ride it out, and it's very peaceful. And one of the things I tell myself when it gets hard, because it does get hard, and suicidal thoughts do come in, and such as like if these walls were to collapse and I were to die, I'd be just fine with it. That happens all the time. It's totally normal. Same with if I got hit by a bus, totally normal. It doesn't mean I'm suicidal and gonna go kill myself. It just is a normal part of this stage. So what I do, like I said, is I focus on surrender. Now the next stage that I'm going to share with you of depression is the stage where you're starting to come out of the depression. But this stage is when you and I are at our greatest risk for suicide. And I'll explain why. What happens is our brain chemistry is starting to recover. And so we'll have a good day, an okay day, a bad day, a good day, bad day, good day, bad day. So it will drive us nuts and we won't want to live. That is when we are most likely to commit suicide, because we have no control again and we can't predict whether we're going to be able to function or not. And it's scary. And what happens is people don't know that it's just a stage. It's just for a period of time. This is when our medication actually is starting to work and stabilize us. But prior to that, the medication isn't able to stabilize because we're recovering. And we have to recover. Our bodies, our brain needs time to recover from this stage, from the stage of mania. So what happens is, if you're in this stage where you're having a good day and then a bad day and then an okay day and it's just completely unpredictable, I want you to know that you are at the end of depression. You are at the end. This is not the time to commit suicide. This is the time where you're to start preparing to live your life again, to talk to your psychiatrist, to let them know exactly what you're experiencing, and to have them really work with you on stabilizing your mood, on just stabilizing the depression. Now, the reason why that is so important is because once you come out of depression, our brain is still imbalanced. And it naturally goes from depression to hypomania or mania. So you want to make sure that you're working with your psychiatrist so when that happens, it prevents the mania. Because if you don't talk to your psychiatrist and don't work closely with your psychiatrist, what will happen is you'll go straight back into mania, have another manic episode, and end up in depression again. I'm hoping this makes sense. That's how rapid cycling occurs. That you end up coming out of depression and going right back into mania. So I hope this was really useful in helping you understand how bipolar depression works. And I want to share with you a little bit about what I do with as being a part of a team member of the Life Adjustment Team. And what the team does is we help people get through these stages of depression to prevent, if at all possible, hospitalization, because hospitalization is very expensive. So our goal is to be with you through these stages and remind you and just help you get through these stages. And that's my new job and very excited about. So in the next video, what I'll talk with you about is mania and the stages of mania, so you can understand where you are in mania and where you can intervene. And I look forward to seeing you then. See you soon.